Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 208 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
And Karak, here we go. We took a week off. We got a little bit of a breather, but we're back, baby. We're back. We're better than ever. For those who didn't know, the reason we took a show off last week was because it was my birthday weekend. So I was away with my lady friend, and it was a good time for those who may be wondering. And for those who don't give a shit, well, you just found out anyway. Karak, what were you up to last weekend? Anything fun?
I don't know, but lady friend is the perfect word.
My lover.
No, I took that. I think that was Sinking City.
Sinking City. So you were just in the trenches reviewing shit. Yeah, dude, you've been pumping them out. That's been crazy impressive to watch from afar. Because I'm like seeing you tweet like another review done, done. Like you did my friend Pedro. You did Sinking City. I think I saw something else. Judgment. That's what it was. Yeah, man, you've been grinding away. So good for you. Any secret projects? Anything you're working on that you want to tease a little bit?
No, not actually. I always do this if no games are coming in. I just pretend like it's a weekend. So right now I'm sort of pretending like it's a weekend.
Good stuff.
That's why I have no problem working on a normal weekend, because whenever a game's not here, I'm just like, all right, tomorrow is Saturday, regardless if it's Thursday or not.
Oh yeah, that's the funny thing about our position. I like when I used to, I'd say more consistently, I would have been on top of Judgment usually, but I'm more of a pick and choose type reviewer now. I would do the same thing. Like if I was grinding away on one game, I would take a weekend away from games almost, even though it'd be Wednesday. So I totally feel you on that. Let's see here. Anything else we need to talk about? I'm personally just floating on by. As those of you who watch the channel consistently know, I tend to do news discussions videos, and news is at an all-time low because E3 is done. The load has been blown. So you'll get substitute videos like me and my friends dropping nukes in Fallout 76 BR, which, oh my god, people bitched up a storm. They were like, oh my god, because you're playing the mode. I'm just like, oh. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I mean, most people were really happy, but there was a very large contingent who was just like, wah, unbelievable. Anyway.
You mean mad because you didn't like it and then returned to it to check out the new mode?
And I like it, yeah. I don't like the base game, yeah. That's the thing. I think people got it twisted. I'm supporting the whole thing because I like the BR. I'm like, the BR is good, but people come into my Twitch chat and be like, do you enjoy the survival mode now? Is it good now? And I'm like, no, it's still bad, but the BR mode is actually very fine-tuned. It's very fun. I enjoy going to it. I put a lot of hours into it. It's fun. So I think people got it twisted a little bit.
Dude, reviewers get treated in some way they're supposed to be religious, when in real ways we're supposed to be scientists, which is that if you're proven wrong, you turn around and okay, now it's good. If there's something, if Anthem had a good mode. If Anthem had a good mode, I would be like, this is now a good mode. There's a good, if you hold on to that dogmatically, other than bad business practices, I'm talking about you don't like a game and then you're all, oh, you know what, this is cool now. That's what you should do. You shouldn't just hold on it too dogmatically and be like, no, I hate it because I used to hate it. That makes, it makes shit sense, man. That's crazy. I didn't see those comments. If I would have probably started messing around. I don't like to go into your comments too often because I have a tendency, we've talked about this, our fan bases are little different.
I mean, mine are more opinionated because I am the opinionated creator. So
they can be a little bit whoa, and I have a tendency to be like, listen, bitch. But that's unfortunate because if it's fun, fuck it, it's fun.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have I don't want to say a busy week, but we got some stuff to talk about for sure. So let's get it started. This week is the Steam Summer Sale, Karak. I made about a 20-minute video suggesting, games that people should look at on sale. And I made you aware of this prior to the show. Is there any quick suggestions, any games you want to talk about real quick that maybe have gone under the radar? Or, we both have the similar rating scale of waiting for a sale.
Yeah.
And are there any games maybe that you reviewed that were a wait for a sale that may be on that ideal price point where it's time to pick it up? Just because, like I said, I made a whole 20-minute video. I could sit here all day and do Steam sale videos, but I'd love to hear from you. If there's any games that come to mind.
The big problem is every link I'm looking at to try to give me a nice. I thought I had one that was listing what's on sale, but it's not.
It's pretty much every game has some type of sale. Literally, though. Almost every game has some type of sale. So I guess what I'd say is, rather than looking for the sale, because what we can do actually is I have my browser up, so you can tell me a game, and I will look it up on Steam, and then I'll give them a price.
All right, let me look at my review list.
All right. There we go. Karak's diving in.
I was going to say, well, I can't say that. Let's see. No lie, I was going to say Days Gone, maybe. But then it's not a Steam.
Oh, yeah.
Steam
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I was like, oh, hey. No, I was going to say Dangerous Driving, but I really don't think that game is... Well, I had Dangerous Driving as a deep sale. What's it on? It should be like $7.
Dangerous Driving on Steam is currently... Oh, I don't think it's available on Steam. Is it?
What? I don't...
It's on Epic Game Store.
Oh, dear God, here we go.
Well, fuck.
Okay, well, I'll just... you know what? Nope, Observation is Epic.
Yeah,
what about...
Oh, my God.
Void Bastards, I said, was a buy.
Okay, Void Bastards.
And that's definitely...
Okay,
wait, Void Bastards is Epic.
Void Bastards is currently available for $25. Would you recommend that? Well worth it. Okay.
Insanely worth it. If you like roguelikes.
Looks great. Wow.
And you like shooters.
This is kind of... It's like a cartoon Doom almost, the way the animations are when they run around and the way enemies walk at you.
Yeah. That game is
clearly inspired
legit
by that.
fun.
Wow.
Yeah, and probably some Borderlands just because, cel-shaded people are going to... but
published by Humble Bundle. Wow, I didn't know they published games. Very cool.
Yeah, I've seen them occasionally show up. I don't usually end up jumping and reviewing something of theirs, but I'll play it.
Right.
Other than that, if they're, you know what, VR games, I think I saw Grimblade in your Discord talking about a bunch of VR games on sale.
Yeah, he wants to empty his wallet, he said.
Yeah, like any of the VR titles that are on sale, I can probably just check right now, Steam, and go right to Steam. I didn't even think about that.
I'm still getting a kick internally
here we go.
Out of you suggesting 2 games off the Epic Game Store.
Yeah. I just haven't reviewed as many games this year.
Yeah, I mean it's you and I think have like a mixture of like, let's hit some B tier titles, but we try to nail the bigger ones. Like for me, my exception was sort of Judgment, but I try to nail all the big titles, and it's been lacking in this first half because we're in that awkward phase right now for gaming. Like next year is going to be booming, and we're, trust me, ladies and gentlemen, around this time next year, Karak and I are probably going to be venting about how relieved we are that like E3 is done, and how crazy the first half of the year was, based off all the announcements that have come this year. So, no complaints right now. There's a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems is, I was telling you prior to the podcast, I get my games at whatever the cost is when it comes out, so I don't look at Steam sale. I know what others do. Certainly no problem here. I clicked VR only. Let's look at...
Outlast 2 for $7?
You know what? Yeah, that's probably worth it. I'm not a huge... Are you a big horror fan? Because
I don't like Outlast because I get the appeal of being vulnerable and having 0 items or weapons, but that's not appealing to me to just run away from stuff. Not that I have to fight everything, but like cool mechanics to maneuver, stuff like that.
Oh, hey, I got one. Monstarium. 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 It's a PC. It's a Steam and VR title. Ooh, it doesn't look like it's on there on Steam. Oh, there we go. 80% off. Monstrum is what it's called.
Monstrum.
That game. It's only $3. It's only $3. That game is definitely worth it. Yeah.
I'm seeing Hollow Knight for $9. That's really good.
Yeah, that's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. Celeste for $12. If you guys are just looking at indies, there's a couple. Have you played Slay the Spire, by the way?
No, everybody talks about it in the Discords, and
looks so fucking cool.
There's another one
$12
that I just had to open in a Steam page just yesterday, and I closed it.
Wait, I'm obliged to interrupt. I know this is your section here, But Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition is $2.
Yeah, it's $2.
Holy fucking smokes, ladies and gentlemen. If you oh my god, that's one of my favorite open world games, man. I love Sleeping Dogs. Its story is great. I love the open world activities, the music. Oh, great game. Great game.
I got one. Kingdom Come Deliverance is looks like $17.99.
Great deal.
I gave it a wait for sale due to the technical issues.
I think I said 40
But even if those technical issues were the exact same and they're not, it's been patched to no end. That is definitely worth it for that. Like that is a legit huge game. Pathfinder Kingmaker is 19. That would be worth it. I really enjoyed that Pathfinder game. It's janky.
Rainbow Six Siege is $10. Great multiplayer game. Ori and the Blind Forest also $10 if you don't have Game Pass. A lot of people really like Jurassic World Evolution. $13 if you kind of like Jurassic Park and The Sims combined almost. Just a couple of suggestions. Like I said, I know people love to like hear all the deals and what Karak and I would recommend.
Dying Light's 17. Dying Light's really good. I like the zombie one.
Strangely pricey. Like when did that come out? In like early 2015?
Yeah, but this is the enhanced edition, which includes everything. The DLC.
Okay.
I mean, you're right. On a Steam sale, you might expect that to be a little cheaper. BattleTech, I gave a wait for sale. It's only $13. Definitely worth it. BattleTech is for sure worth it at that price, without like any hesitation. That game is awesome. My favorite one. Didn't realize this was on sale. Holy shit! Hunter Call of the Wild. Holy shit! I gotta tell my Discord that's on sale.
Isn't that the one that you said you and I think Absy were playing on stream?
Me, Absy, Takedown, dude, you got to do it. It's so dumb. It's so dumb how fun it is, but all it is hunting, and but it's beautiful and it's serene. And so instead of like the Call of Duty stuff we're used to, the quick twitch, it's like you have to sneak to get up to the deer, and they leave marks like there's. I mean, it sounds so dumb, but funny, dude, let's say you wanted to hunt, but you don't want to hurt an animal. This is the game. If you do like to hunt, but you can't anymore, this is the game. And it runs on the Mad Max engine, their graphics engine, and it's just phenomenal looking graphically.
Interesting. You know what blows my mind? It feels like every time I come on Steam, there's like this new Warhammer 40K spin-off that I've
I just said
heard
this.
of.
I said it this morning. Chaos Bane and the other one, Martyr. And I'm looking at
Mechanicus right now, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like, it came out in November of last year. I'm like, it's got great reviews. I'm like, I never heard of this shit, man. Unbelievable. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from here.
What's Warhammer Vermintide now? Because if people, even though I rated that a buy, people should not sleep on that. It's $10. I see it right here. Vermintide. So Warhammer Vermintide. If you don't have Game Pass, because Jesus, Game Pass is eating up everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have Game Pass, also House Flipper. You ever played House Flipper?
No, I never even heard of that.
So Playway is this company that does car mechanic simulator, fucking diesel truck simulator, all these simulators, and they started out with like what you would term as super budget, and they've slowly. They're like Big Ben or Focus, where they just keep doing it. They just keep releasing games, and suddenly they started releasing good ones. Thief Simulator was excellent.
I've heard about that. My friend Eddie was playing that.
Dude, House Flipper is a legit fun game. Like, it is stupidly fun to get a shitty house that's like drug dealers have obviously kicked holes in the walls, and you're just there fixing up the house and trying to get more money. You know, you buy it for low, and you're trying to sell it for high, and you can get jobs where you're like a mechanic and you fix other people's houses. There's something
oddly enjoyable about that, right? Doing menial real life tasks in video games, it's like I can do all the productive stuff from my bed.
If you told me to go fix my water heater, I'd be like, but if you said there's a game where you fix a water heater, I'd be like, all right, well, that sounds pretty fun. Yeah, it's stupid. But Playway and Imperium both are the two big publishers, and they are just prolific as fuck. So many titles, and not bad ones. Wow. I see Rise of the Tomb Raider's 8. That's also great personally game. For me one of my favorite games. I really like that. Dishonored 2 is 19. That's high.
That is very high. That's like, I thought that'd be like in the $8. You know, I thought that's where it would sit. Huh?
Yeah, that's strange.
I don't think that game didn't get any DLC really either, did it?
No, you covered the Death of the Outsider. That was it.
That was
Death
that was
it
the
was,
DLC.
Oh well, wait. Okay.
Do they have Death of the Outsider on sale? Death of the
They
Outsider is
do.
$15.
I do see something here called Void Walker Arsenal, and
Just
then
like
the
a
Brighton
starter weapon
Witches.
pack.
The Brighton Witches sounds like it might be something. Like that sounds a little bit more like that might be DLC.
Let me view the page here and see what we got going on.
Do you know what's really sad about that is if you had told me prior to Dishonored 1 or 2 coming out that they were coming out, I would have been so excited because I'm a big fan of that kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
And neither, I know you liked them a little bit more than me, but they came and went. Like,
it blows my mind because I think Dishonored is one of like the best series in current gaming. Like it's insane that game didn't like gain steam or
and sold poorly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, like did it sell well? Like it blows my mind. I understand Dishonored 2 a little bit more because Dishonored 2 came out with PC issues. And like people expected more from such like an anticipated sequel. But like you'd think the first one, man, would fly off the shelves.
And you said Death of the Outsider is awesome, and everybody I've talked to says it's like one of the best standalone DLCs like made.
Yeah,
like,
excellent game, excellent story. Only issue I really have with it is it kind of gets rid of that morality system. It's less consequential if you kill people or choke them out, which was kind of the cool part. One of the cool parts I felt about Dishonored. That may be why people like it more. But yeah, man, I mean, Dishonored's such a good series. So if you have not tried it, ladies and gentlemen, you can get, let's see here, the complete collection, which is Dishonored, Death of the Outsider 2, the first one, and all of its DLC for $40. Which, do a little research around the web. I don't know if you can get it for cheaper if you like buy used at GameStop, but excellent package of games. That Dishonored is one of the few series I'll say I have very little problems with across the board. Like as it went game to game, usually you're like, they subtracted something here, kind of like what I was talking about with Death of the Outsider. But I think that's the only standout example. Like everything remained consistently good, and 1 to 2 had that true sequel feel. Instead of one character, you play as two. They travel and explore levels in a completely different way, different powers. So there's different ways to play that in that manner. Whether you're doing lethal or non-lethal, it's actually mind-blowing that this series is currently on the shelf.
And then it looks like Elder Scrolls VR is on sale for half price, which, to be honest, they never lower the price. So now would be the time. $29 versus Bethesda does not drop the price of those VR games. Like, a matter of fact, I think they don't drop the price normally of like. Do they? Of like fall?
I don't pay close attention because I don't own VR right now.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, even I thought wasn't the major complaint we heard a while ago is that the normal games, even from them, were still at normal price. Do they go on sale? Like, does normal Fallout 4 go on sale?
I think it's because they do the trials and the demos, and I remembered that because when I was typing Dishonored, I saw the Dishonored 2 demo, and they're one of the few companies that do that. So I feel like their idea is keep the game at a semi-fair price, a little bit hiked up above the value it could currently be at, but give them a demo or a trial to test the game out and then have them buy into the product at a little bit higher price. So there's not that much of a, I guess you're gaining a lot more when someone does actually buy in.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think you earn some good PR too from a fan when you get to test the game, enjoy it, play it, and the game ends up being good. They'll rave about you day and night, or at least that experience with that game.
Batman Arkham Knight's $5, well worth it. Damn.
I don't think that's good on PC though, is it?
It is fixed.
It is fixed.
Yeah, it is fixed. Yeah, matter of fact, they there was a whole big hubbub about like they've completely turned that around. I mean, it may not be the most optimized, but nowhere near the issues it had on.
Well, they removed it from Steam, didn't they originally?
Yeah,
that was bad.
Which
it's funny.
Iron Galaxy was the one who did the port, and they've now got a sore spot with a lot of gamers because of that.
Mm-hmm. Understandably so. All right, we got some news, Karak. We got some news. So let's get straight into that. We're talking about EA off the bat here in our news section. And, naturally they didn't say anything good. So let's talk about that. This article comes from Vice.com. And pretty much the headline is all you need to hear. EA says loot boxes are just, quote, surprise mechanics, end quote. Now, this is a bit of old news. We understand that. But like I said, this actually came out on my birthday. We totally understand that, but once again, we took the week off, so this is something that we wanted to still discuss. Fortnite developer Epic Games told the House of Commons that it does not operate a sweatshop where managers are standing behind people with weapons, forcing people to work as well. So yeah, pretty much EA and Epic Games got grilled for a good 2.5 hours, according to a lot of these articles. But yes, the Carrie Hopkins, vice president of legal and government affairs for EA, said, "We look at them as surprise mechanics." So that's the official quote. What do you think overall?
Thanks. Just so everybody knows, I DM'd him about his mic. There was a tiny bit of reverb. It was
it's so funny because I was like looking at my computer screen. I just see like a message pop up from you on my phone. I just like glanced down, and that's why I slowed down my reading and tried to keep going.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I didn't want to bother you in the middle of it.
No, you're good. All that effort for us to just totally blow our cover.
I didn't want anybody thinking I was pulling something. I would say that it is weird because Rockstar, this is talking after the event, so EA says this, then a couple days later, Rockstar did an interview that was incredibly cogent about like how, you know, all microtransactions, Stadia, all the future of gaming and all this stuff. And it just dawned on me just how dumb one company can sound and how smart another one can sound. Mm-hmm. And how smart a CEO at one place can sound. And I'm not saying on our side. I'm saying intelligent in saying, listen, we don't know. This is what we want to do, you know. And it was weird to hear something that dumb come from somebody because, like, if you and I, if somebody was asked me for an interview, I would be prepared. But it sounds like when somebody says surprise mechanics, you're like, did he just make that up on the spot? There's no chance he said that rant. Like, how the fuck would you say something that dumb? Like, it's just a really stupid thing to say. It doesn't make any sense.
They even said, we think the way we've implemented these kinds of mechanics is quite ethical and fun. They aren't gambling, and we disagree that there's evidence that show they lead to gambling. And when asked if they have no ethical qualms, they said, we have no qualms that they're implemented in an unethical way. So they, like...
they doubled down.
Yeah, they doubled down pretty much. Because we don't... To me, what that sounds like is this is what you have to say when you go out there. While we agree on one sense it's not scripted, they were told pretty much defend what we're doing.
No, they were definitely told that. I just mean it was dumb.
Oh, absolutely.
like if me and my friends, you and your friends could have come up with something more like in a better way to describe it.
Well, I think because it's almost like a wolf in sheep's clothing type of statement. Like, their surprise mechanics. He's not only defending something that, you know, people have different opinions on, but he's also painting it as something great by saying there's surprise mechanics. It's like, what does that actually mean?
Well, and it's changed. I've talked about this with game names lately, with like really bad names for games where they're just dumb. You're like, you know, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Rise of the this, Rise of the that, Shadow of the this, where they don't have a thesaurus with them. It seems like he had a thesaurus, and instead of calling something, let's say, microtransactions, it's tiny purchases, right? Yeah. But it's like, well, dude, if I have a thesaurus and look that up, and surprise mechanics, dude, seriously? I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what that really means. It's just a really terrible way of saying things. And $4.99 buys you a thesaurus. Look it up. I mean,
he could have even taken an Ultimate Team example and said, we know people love opening packs of cards, you know, when they were kids, and we believe that carries on the legacy here in Ultimate Team. That's like all you gotta fucking say. Like, who the fuck sat this guy down?
I want to make sure nobody thinks that you're saying, because you're not. Neither one of us is saying like they're awesome, but the way of saying things and at very minimum explaining like what you're like surprise mechanics explains nothing. But if you were to draw a comparison between baseball cards, even though many of us wouldn't agree, you could still draw the comparison. You and not Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball, your Dragon Ball cards, right? And me and Mage Knight or all that stuff. Like you can draw comparisons to a childhood activity that's now made digital, but it was just terrible. And it was the one place where you would think people would have prepared.
Yeah.
And there was no
had the most options.
Yeah, there was no prep. It's like two guys got together drinking and said, oh, surprise mechanics sounds like a perfect name. It doesn't. They're also not mechanics. That's another thing that bothers me.
That's true.
How many microtransactions, Maddie, in all honesty, how many micros are mechanics? Like very few.
I wouldn't even say they are mechanic. It feels like they're just their own entity within the product.
Yeah, and to me, a mechanic means, and this could just be me, but if you said the word mechanic to me, I would say crafting.
Right.
Crafting is a mechanic, right? But not a cape. A cape isn't fucking a mechanic, and a weapon isn't really a mechanic. If a weapon has its own skill tree, then you're certainly getting a little bit closer. But yeah, it's really embarrassing. Makes everybody look stupid.
I know, right? Like some of the dirty laundry that got aired out, I'm reading right here. Epic explained that the responsibility of age verification is on the platform holders, not Fortnite. At a high level, we intend to collect the minimal amount of personal information, Penn said. We don't believe we need age to deliver what's been requested by the account holder. So, like, they're also, yeah, it's.
I apologize.
No. I'm just saying, it's just interesting how all the places these conversations went. I think the major quote is surprise mechanics, but we want to shine a light on all the other shit that was actually coming out during this.
And I think I disagree with you probably a little bit on like my belief of who is. No, actually, I think we do agree on who's ultimately in charge of like your kid's Visa card. Like if somebody's in your purse stealing your Visa card.
I'm totally on the side. If you've linked your credit card to your account and it's your kid's PS4, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
you're a fucking idiot.
Dumb. You're dumb. Because as a kid, I can tell you, it has nothing to do with gambling or whatever. If that free cash was there, I would have done some crazy shit with it. So. Like, I don't necessarily know how much is on them to start collecting fucking DNA and shit. Like, how far do you go? At some point, you're like, the account is valid, it's there. I get protecting people, but at the same time, it goes both ways a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're my age, I feel like when you have access to that credit card, it looks like just an unlimited money chip. Because I remember my dad gave me a credit card. I used to play RuneScape all the time when I was a kid. He gave me his credit card to buy some gold online. So this was at a time I was like 8 years old. I didn't know how to farm. Where getting rich in that game is actually pretty easy. But at the time, I didn't know how to do that. So I'd pay $4. Someone would sign into my account. They'd farm gold for a day. I'd sign on. I'd have a mill. And I'd just go out and spend that mill.
I did it with WoW.
Yeah.
I know exactly. Yep.
And so what I did one time was I still had my dad's credit card information. I'm like, oh, this just prints money. I spent like $200 on RuneScape shit. And, my dad flipped the fuck out and, we got a refund. But, what I'm saying is, if you're around my age, probably you have a story at some point in time where you got a hold of a credit card that wasn't supposed to be there. And who does it fall on at that point? For me, it was the information was saved in the computer. So it was kind of just me being a doucher rather than my dad being like, I'm going to let you hold on to this or link it to an account. He would never do that. But, I just feel like it's so common nowadays. I feel like it does fall on the parents to a most extent. Let's see here. Is there anything else? Do you agree that you have a duty to care about duty of care to the people who play your games? If you're asking me if we have a duty of care under law, I can say that there's not a law yet, Hopkins said. I do think we have a duty to our players, and we take that responsibility very seriously, but legally, I don't think this is the place to discuss whether there's a legal requirement. And they said, we're the House of Commons. This is exactly the place. I love it, man. They were fucking on fire. Yeah, man. Let's see what else we got here. And then they went on to talk about working conditions, so I don't know what happened after that point there. Interesting. But yeah, EA and Epic really got a fire lit under their ass. Quite interesting, quite a surprise last week. Any additional thoughts on that?
No, I just think if somebody wants to see how somebody can intelligently talk about the future and talk about this kind of stuff, the rock star, I can't remember his name, I apologize, but yeah, I think it was, yeah. He did a very good. I'm not saying I agree with him in 99% of the stuff they do. I'm just saying that the intelligence of describing a situation and understanding how to be eloquent about it and still explain stuff and still give, still argue a point. Yeah, he showed what you should act like, because I think that the intelligence of the discussions is one of the issues. If you switch the word around, you're making everybody look really dumb. Not just him. But then you're almost calling your players dumb. Oh, surprise mechanics. Oh, well, then that makes sense. That's why I buy them. Yeah. Surprise mechanics. You lower the intelligence of everybody, So I'm a big believer in making things clear and understanding the proper wordage for stuff, and that was just not done in that entire interview. Like reading it was really uncomfortable because he had to sit there, and then like the guy saying, "This is the House of Commons." Guess what? He shouldn't have fucking blurted out, "I don't think this is the place." Blah blah blah. Like it is the place, obviously. So his answer should have been different. I don't know. Maybe this guy's not. I don't know who it was.
I think he choked under pressure. It sounds like.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Is it's almost like somebody who got there and was like, I've got it handled, and then once you get in there, you're all, no, definitely don't have it handled.
Fucking, I can't pull out. I got 2 hours.
Oh, I've done that. I mean, how many people if you'd like look at your normal life, like get in front, you do martial arts, first time you do a belt, not everybody fails, but dude, I had like 5 senseis and the senpai there, and they're just watching, and they're not smiling, right? It's not the happy-go-lucky. You can do it. They're studying every move, and you're all, I forgot how to push off of somebody. I forgot how to block. I forgot the basic step forward. Like, it happens.
Yeah,
it happens.
It's like, you not only have to do it, but you have to do it at your absolute best in that situation.
Yeah, yeah. And also, those guys just need to stop fucking people over with microtransactions at the end of the day. Like, that also matters.
Yeah, I completely
just
agree.
Weird. It's too bad.
Right. Well, hopefully this is a wake-up call to them. We'll see.
Yep.
Next, we've got a little bit more positive stuff. We've got the latest on Watch Dogs Legion. So you sent me a really neat article, and we're going to tab through it together, kind of like we did with the surprise mechanics, because a lot of people like our sort of live interpretations where we brush over things and then afterwards get into a discussion. So I'll let you get started because I need to bring it up right now. So go ahead and fire away.
So basically what this was, Gama Sutra, anybody who wants to understand development, this is the place to go.
Yes, absolutely.
It's insane. Like, it'll teach you more and it's the developers talking, so it'll teach you more in like 5 minutes than watching a YouTube video. It's crazy, but basically
very thorough website.
Yeah, and they were interviewing the original creator of Watch Dogs Legions, and his name's Clint Hawking. And the first thing I picked up was he basically said 3.5 years ago they started sort of working on the technology for this, and it's crazy it hasn't leaked, which makes sense because if you watch the E3 trailer, that looked way farther along than a lot of people thought, because the name Legion just came out, what was it, like 2 weeks prior to E3?
Yeah, it came out. That's why I feel like it only supports that the leak may have been almost intentional, because think about it. It went that long without being surfaced, and all of a sudden it's out.
Or it was a media company. Because they will do that, where once more people know, then somebody there leaked it. I don't know, but I agree, it's totally possible. But what they did, one of the things was they talked, they didn't talk about the mistake part of sort of how it created, but they sort of started to talk about how the NPCs were created. And it is incredibly interesting, some of his own stories about what goes on in the game to just create the NPCs. And also the interesting fact that the NPCs are not solidified in who they are until you focus on them. So unlike a lot of games where they know every NPC, in this game, you walk past like he talks about it in the thing, you walk past a gardener, he's just a gardener with a name, but once you focus on him and profile him, then he is locked into your game with whatever random generation they have. Also, they're locked in. So if the game decides I have a brother named Matt is now locked in as a character. I don't know his traits, but I know that Matt is a character and where he probably works. But the original character I locked in on gets solidified at that point as playable and gets solidified with their skills. And it is basically, the easiest way to describe it is an actual working version of the job system that was in Skyrim and in Oblivion, where they kept talking about, you can follow this guy from his, he'll go drinking at night in an inn and he'll go here, but it never really worked because it's Bethesda. We can all agree, it didn't necessarily plot out as well as I think they had hoped. And with this game, it sounds like it is. Like, he even talks about playing a character for 12 missions after saving that guy's dad, and then being a different character, walking down the street and saw the character that he can choose to play with his dad going shopping at a store. Like,
awesome.
Dude, it was, and he's like, listen, that's one of tons of stories. You can talk to anybody at E3 who played it, and it's just, to me, I think solidifies that they might have something special here, especially after we've seen Odyssey.
Seems like it. Yeah, we're looking at an image in this interview that I had actually not seen before. I see like a team screen with all these people that they've acquired for the Legion. They're looking at Naturally the Old Lady right now, who has a pistol equipped. And it says they have a 35% hack cooldown speed, limited mobility, because she's an old lady. She has a perk called Direct Control, which allows the engineer to enter turret mode while controlling a spider bot. And another is Spider Army, which allows the engineer to carry and deploy an extra spider bot. And then there is a perk slot locked until level 15. So it kind of rewards you for sticking with these characters that are inserted into your Legion as well, which I found really interesting. My question, as we kind of sift through what we've got here, is do you feel like procedural design is almost the future, where we're going to see things like this, where a lot of development resources will go into, for example, here, they'll get creative. They'll procedurally generate people you can play as in an open world setting that are fully animated, voiced, a part of the story, but there's that almost unique hook where instead of it being like a side scroller where you die and you come back to life as someone else, it's something like this where it's in an open world setting and there's like a different skill set. Do you think, like, I don't want to say this is the specific future, but do you feel procedural generation is going to play a much larger part than we're used to, where it used to just be like those side scrolling speedrunners and that would be it?
Yeah, because like State of Decay already does this with the skills. When you play State of Decay, your guys can die, anybody can die, and the story just continues. So all this is doing is sort of that. Sinking City was a procedurally generated city, and then they touched it up.
Know that.
Yeah, Sinking City, they didn't have the resources. So what they did is they built a system to build the city, and then they can go in and adjust them. And next month they're releasing a city builder for you. So you can make your own city and your own quests in that game next month.
Wait, well, okay, well, I thought you were talking like Oblivion, where they procedurally generated the terrain and then built on top of it. You mean, wow.
That city, everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and again, I didn't love the game, so I gave it a wait. But that part of the game is actually tremendous. That is not one of the problems. So yeah, I believe elements of procedural generation for sure will be. We also see them improving textures using AI in Oblivion, Skyrim. You know, we see the AI texture improvements. All of the stuff that can sort of slightly assist and be an extra arm will for sure be done. One of the things they announced in Legion, they're recording all the stories, and then what they're doing is they're using their own specially developed voice modulation system so that no character in the game sounds like anybody else, even if it's the same voice actor. And I use Fruity Loops, and I use a DAW called Ableton, which are for making music. And you can buy voice modulators.
Right.
And they're pretty good. But what they're using is something that actually not only voice modulates, but will put in pauses in different places. And so it sounds like a different person, even if it's all Troy Baker, right? So
Gotcha.
Troy Baker might record something, and then they'll pick and choose and say, okay, this guy's going to be Troy Baker as the basic voice, but we're making him older, and we're slightly adjusting this. And this is sort of what I do all the time when I'm not reviewing games, is fucking around with tech. I've got like 6 voice changers on my PC right now, and those work okay. But one professionally made by Ubisoft probably works really well.
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see how good it sounds, but from what I understand, they're not making it so that we sound totally different. Because you and I we're still from America, right? So you've got that. You've got some similarities regardless. We're both males, so we sound a certain way. So those things, procedural generation is only going to help. Sound effects are procedurally generated a lot now. There's a lot of times where they'll take a bullet sound and they'll adjust it up or down tonally every time you fire, so that it's slightly, so when you fire, it doesn't go bang, bang, bang. It goes like bang, 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 and you get a variation which causes the human ear to stay interested.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be a big deal.
Nice. I wanted to read a little quote here. It's going to be a bit of a long one. The question I was asked is, what was the first sort of structure that you approach when building a game full of playable NPCs? So the answer is right. So when we first had the idea that you'll be able to play as anyone in the game, we had to, of course, bring in a bunch of major stakeholders, the lead animators, lead programmers, and lead sort of engine architects, the lead audio guys, sound guys, and the lead writers, and start talking about, breaking the problem down. Like, how are we going to cover all the pieces that we need to cover and make them all work together? I think the most important thing that we started working on pretty early was something we call Census, which is a massive relational database that lives at the center of this simulation. The most important thing about Census is that it allows us to spawn NPCs in the world, just like you do in many other games. But when you profile those NPCs, the relational database, sorry, I think I said rational earlier, is able to fill in the blanks on who they are and sort of generate them in real time and then make them persistent and keep them in the world. So if you see a groundskeeper trimming hedges in a park and he has a certain ethnicity, when you lock onto that person and profile them, he's going to have a name that reflects the ethnicity that you saw, and he's going to have an animation set based on how he was animating. He's going to have a job that says groundskeeper, and it's going to be at a certain time. And then because he's a groundskeeper, he's going to make a certain amount of money, which means he's going to be allowed to live in a certain neighborhood. And because of his ethnicity, will navigate to a different part of the neighborhood depending on where the different communities live within London. Then he's going to have certain friends and activities. Maybe he's an outdoorsy guy. He has an outdoor job. So he may be more fit and have a gameplay trait that reflects higher health or higher agility or something like that. All of these things are internally in sync and coherent so that every NPC feels real and credible. Then when you recruit them, they get their own narrative persona, their own voice, their own animations, their own fighting style if they do melee. All of those things are, again, coherent with that guy you first saw trimming a hedge in the park when they were walking by and caught your eye for whatever reason. That is fucking awesome.
Is that not awesome?
That is absolutely awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I wanted you to read that, because it's just like... as somebody who wasn't in love with Watch Dogs 2 at all, I didn't really know how Legion was going to go. I was interested in it, but I'm certainly interested in the tech. And what's cool is it's not really crazily different than State of Decay. Mm-hmm. It's not. I mean, if you look at this, but one of the things that I like is where it's like, it's random pretty much till you zoom in. And then the game is like, all right, add, Karak to the database now as him. Right. And, Karak does podcasts with Maddie. And he does reviews, and then it's like, how much does he get paid? He'll live here. And then what it does is make sure that not too many people live in that area. So from that point on, the next time you go and look at somebody, it's like, we've filled up this area of town, so he can't live here. So we got to make sure his job is. I just love that. I think it'll be so fun, even if it doesn't work perfect. To me, that's where a lot of the weird, the cool living part of games can feel, because a lot of people will say, this game feels real because somebody wrote this character, but actually a lot of times that can also feel very static, where you're like, I know this character's not going to have any shades of gray to him. This could have those things where you see him maybe being a gardener, but then you're like, but he's got a mother who lives in this multi-million-dollar mansion. Like, what's going on? And you can investigate it and go, do they hang out? And you'll make the stories in your own head, which to me does not require the developer to always make those stories.
I think it's phenomenal what they're doing. It reminds me of how I felt going into Moon Crash, where it was very much being sold like this is procedural generation, but it's on a AAA level where you're not going to have some of the things that I have issues with. Like, I don't like running through the same level. It doesn't excite me getting like a level 2 sword versus a level 1. That's not the stuff I care about, but when you start to see like different enemy encounters or different personalities being generated, it kind of creates my own story despite us all living in the same world. I think that's awesome because it fuels what, in a strange way, games have become popular with, which is like spreading stories through word of mouth. Whether you're talking to someone like we're doing right now, or on social media with photo mode and what have you. It's fantastic to see. So for those who actually also don't know, the person who is, let me get the name first. What is the name of the person who's working on this game? Legion's announcement. Okay, Far Cry 2 creative director Clint Hawkins. Clint Hawkins. I wanted to point out that he worked on Far Cry 2 though, which I thought was a solid game for its realism. I think
most people think Far Cry 2 is probably the best Far Cry. That's usually what you hear, even though I
feel like I always hear 3.
I think it depends on the group you're talking to. I would agree that I like 3 better, but I hear a lot of... I think 3 wins because of its villain. But 2, people loved like all the weird,
like
tech
diseases you could get. You could,
I
rip
hated
bullets
it
out with a knife. I didn't like it, but I was way young when I tried it. But yeah, it's exciting to see that type of name rejoin Ubisoft, and this being the game he was working on for so long. I'm even looking at like a picture right now of him looking at someone on the street, and it says like he was held in contempt of court. He has 50% plus non-lethal damage. It says he has 40% longer arrest times. So I guess people on your team can get arrested, and then you can either maybe break them out, or presumably they stay there for a certain time.
All those people that you're seeing on the picture up in the left-hand corner, all those people are fast travel points. So the game basically has fast travel with subways and transit, but also anybody you've chosen in this top 25, I think that's 20. No, it's 20. It looks like 24. Any of those 24 NPCs, those main NPCs are like your main guys. You
20.
can still 20. I apologize. You can still get more. But what that is those are all fast travel points, just like the 3 in GTA 5. So in GTA 5, you could fast travel to Trevor, and he'd be puking in a corner somewhere. You could fast travel to any of those 3. Here, it's the same exact thing. Yeah. So, except there's more.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the latest on Watch Dogs Legion. Highly recommend, ladies and gentlemen, even though we kind of skimmed over the article here. Go and give Gamma Sutra a click, like Karak said and like I supported. One of the few sites that very much teaches you about the inside of game developments. And if you don't believe me, here's a perfect question. I'm not going to read the response, but a perfect question to highlight. Like, these are people very familiar with game development. I just got to find it here real quickly. Where was it? Hold on. What is a way to work in a procedural design space without finding yourself deep in the weeds, trimming each individual procedural experience? What lets you work at its core and of it and intentionally design things for the player to see? Like, that's a very, like, trained question. That's a trained question, in my opinion. Sorry, I took an extra second to find. But, yeah, so give them a read, give them a click, support their site. Keep these types of good sites around. They need your support. And now, let's have a discussion. Karak, we're going to talk about Watch Dogs, sorry. My phone's giving me some serious trouble. Judgment and Sinking City. Let's hear it. You played both of these. So you want to cover
Judgment first?
Yeah, I'm most curious about that. I feel like Sinking City's exactly what I expected, which was going to be a hit or miss game. But I'm still interested in hearing about it. So, Judgment is a spin-off of the Yakuza series. How much does it play into it? I know it's in Kamurocho, which was kind of like my turnoff. It was like, okay, they're using the same world space. How many times can I retrack the same grounds from 0 to 1, Kiwami 1 to Kiwami 2, and now Judgment? So I want to start off with that. What does the world space do to grab me versus what's offered in all the other Yakuza games?
I would say not a ton.
Right.
Not a ton. What it does is, I'm trying to think of a game that that would fit this, but basically it really is playing the opposite side of the coin against the Yakuza, because you're the cops. So it's like it's imagine you were playing Vampire and you were a vampire hunter or whatever, and you played the entire game as the vampire hunter. I mean, that's pretty much what you do in Judgment. Is you're a cop. Or sorry, you're a private investigator.
We have a game, the one I suggested earlier, like Sleeping Dogs, where kind of playing the cop, good cop, bad cop almost, is fun. So does it toy with that a little bit?
In the narrative, but not necessarily well, there's a couple times, actually. There are a couple missions where you can choose to sort of like not necessarily turn somebody in, but overall it is more of a drawn out story like Yakuza. It definitely,
which is what I expected.
Yeah, you're a ex lawyer, and you succeeded in a case. This is not like spoilers. You succeeded in a case that then turned out to probably be like you were on the wrong side. So you end up becoming a private investigator instead. And you explore the same overall locations, but dude, it's so hard to describe. And I think it points out the strength that you are in a lot of the same locations, but it just doesn't matter because it's different.
The interactions are different.
Yeah, and you're still doing missions, but you're like, so sometimes you'll track somebody with a camera and you try to take a picture of them cheating on their wife, and then the next time you're doing an investigation. You're doing an investigation in some corner area where a murder happened, and you're looking at things. The cool thing about this is those are then taken and you use them later. So let's say you go to a murder investigation, you investigate where this body is. Then later you'll go and talk to somebody and they're like, no, I wasn't there. And you're all, really? And you'll bring up the pictures you took, and and in your mind, you'll see this purple writing that'll say, I need to prove he was there. and you have like 4 examples of pictures you took, and one of them proves like on a camera he was there, and you're like, oh really? And you know, you show the camera to.
So
and
is this? I'm trying to think of a game that lets you miss evidence. I don't think there really are many. Maybe Sinking City actually, but is it like Danganronpa where they're like collect evidence, but it's really like you're gonna have everything at your fingertips?
You are most likely gonna have everything. There are a couple times where you can certainly fail, but there are, most of the time it's more of I want to tell a story than it is sandbox. It's not like a GTA where you can just fucking run around and, you know, I mean, you can still get in a fight with thugs, obviously, and that kind of shit, which still surprises me, because this dude, he looks like Sonic the Hedgehog, hipster version. His tight pants, his fucking super like spiky hair, kicks the shit out of everybody. At some point, you'd think they'd call each other and say, dude, don't pick a fight with this dude who looks like Sonic the Hedgehog, because you just kick the shit out of everybody.
Don't ambush the cop on the middle of the road.
Yeah, what are you fucking doing? But there's a lot of goofiness and dumb shit to it too. I mean, I liked it.
The side quests.
Yeah. It's not. Oh, sorry. I mean bad. Not in the goofy way you mean. In fact, I like the more serious tone this takes. The jokes are more at you're making expense of the world. Remember in Yakuza, sometimes like you're just like, there'll be something goofy on screen and the joke is showing your face as the main character, like, what? Like, what am I seeing? A guy dressed like a baby?
Like sometimes it's just idle animation is hilarious given the context.
Exactly. And in Judgment, it is far more, it'll be something that's actually occurring and he's making the joke or somebody around him is making the joke, but it's far more serious. It's definitely more serious in the story. No, what I mean by bad is, dude, like you follow people, and it's fucking, man, dude, it's so bad. The AI, there'll be a guy like 6 feet in front of you. He turns around. There's 10 people walking with you down the street, but for some reason he thinks you're suspicious. So you sprint into the bicycle rack. You send bikes flying. You do a backflip. You end up hiding, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, well that's normal," and then keeps walking. Like, and you're all, but you found me following you like 20 feet behind with a group of people abnormal, but you found this like normal. Yeah, you get that dissonance that pops up. And so the AI is not great. And then one of the worst parts that bothered me to no end was you take these pictures and I'll be like, you need to make sure in your picture you have the following 5 things: a sign, this character doing this.
So you like it's not like a natural like, boom, I got a picture. Like you got to frame it just right.
It's even worse because it does sound effects to tell you if you have everything. So you'll be walking forward trying to get this picture and I'll be all bing 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 bing, and I mean I had a recording of like 2 solid minutes trying to get this one picture right, and it was annoying like to my ears, where it's like bing 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 bing, because like somebody would walk in front of me and it would then say, oh, you don't have it. Luckily there's not a ton of those missions, but there's enough that I brought it up in the review. And then fighting system still just as good. I love that you can switch martial arts. So you have 2. You have a multi-person martial art, and then I'm gonna fuck up this one-person martial art. Like, you know,
they always toy with that, because in the first
they
Kiwami,
always do.
They had like 4 different styles. One was more of a brawler. One was more fast strike. One was average, and then there was another one I forgot. And then Kiwami 2 seemed to sort of streamline it.
Yeah, I think Kiwami 2 had 2, right?
Yeah,
because this 0 had 0 of that, I think, and if I remember right, 6 may not have had any, but this one has 2. It is a repeat of another one. I just don't remember which one.
Yeah, it's really weird, because I always thought Kiwami 1, I liked the variation of all the moves you could have throughout those 4 different styles. So it's...
Yeah, this doesn't... It doesn't... Well, I mean, it's got a lot.
Well, the other issue I have with Kiwami 2's combat system, and you can tell me if Judgment has this, does it have, like, this certain environmental finishes that you could do in previous... Yeah. Okay, so one thing I had a problem with in Kiwami 2 is, like, I unlocked all of those finisher moves, like, all of them. That's, like, where I spent all the experience points or whatever you call them right off the bat. And what I noticed was they were very circumstantial, and I end up seeing the same one quite a bit because some of the new ones were very hard to trigger despite all the fights I'd get into. Do you have a similar thing here, or do you feel like they're a little easier to pull off where you're going to be seeing a lot of variation just based off the world build?
I think there's less variation for sure. And then
Because, like, some of them are like, have a flower pot in your right hand against a brick wall. It's like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah, and when you're buying skills in this one, there's a lot of skills for sure, and they're based on what was it? It was combat. I can't remember the other term, and then technique. And there's a good number of skills, and you have to buy 1, 2, 3 in them as well. So you have to get the first one to get the second one to get the third one. There wasn't as many like combat moves that you were unlocking. There were some, but there a lot of them were weird ones, really weird ones. Like there was one that so you have a set of keys in the game to unlock different things, and you collect keys. So like you'll steal a key from somebody, collect a safe, whatever. But when you go to open up the safe, it'll say which key belongs to that safe, which sounds okay, except there's a skill that will say highlights the right key, which seemed like a sort of a wasted.
Yeah.
It was like, well, dude, you should have either never let me do that and I had to do something visually, or you should have just had it be nothing and have it done. But
it's weird when a game does that.
Yeah, at the same time, I would say it's certainly, I like it better than any other Yakuza game I've ever played.
Wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
The story is way fucking good. I finished the first chapter, got into the second, and I was telling one of the guys in the Discord, I'm like, dude, if this ended right now, most people would probably say it was worth getting, because they're that long. The game is long. If you want 100% it, it is going to be...
Oh, well, 100% versus the actual story.
But here's... Well, the story is probably longer too, but I mean, the 100% in this game feels far more organic to me than I don't know why, but I was looking at like what you needed to do, and I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of... And all the side quests are really cool. So you get side quests normally, and then the game will be like, go to this bartender. You go to the bartender. This is where you've met a couple times. And then suddenly it'll say, oh, go back and talk to the bartender. And you go back and talk to him. And he's like, well, you can now get underworld jobs from me here. And so now you've got your private investigator jobs and your sort of shady ones here. And then you can get some others over here. And then you have the smiley face, the relationship quests. And what I liked about this, and I could not remember if this was done in Kiwami 2. Somebody said it was, but for some reason I don't remember it done the same way. If you walk up to somebody, they don't... It's unlike Skyrim, where you're like, they give you a high five, you're brand new, and they're all, go save my daughter. And you're all, okay, that's a little odd. In this one, you have to do multiple things sometimes to get them to unlock that quest. So you might buy some food from them, then come back once, buy some more food, and then suddenly you come back and they're like, Karak-san, hello, and you're all, oh, you know me? And they're like, yeah, we always we always love good customers. And they're all, by the way, meet me outside. And that's when you get the quest. Some are instant, but a good number of them, you have to do one or two things, which, for whatever reason, hit me more with this one. Somebody said that was actually done in one of the other ones, and I just don't remember the requirement being there, I guess, if that makes sense. So you could correct me.
No, I recently played Kiwami 2, and there was very few times you had to do something before to unlock another, unless it was a quest line where you had to complete part 1 to get to part 2. Which
this is just the side. Yeah, this is just the side ones, and it's not. I kind of
like that because it has.
I loved it.
Go to different parts of the world and do things naturally, and then the quest becomes, like you said, more organic. So
it's not the high five. You're brand new in Skyrim, so I'm going to have you kill the dragon. Instead it's like do a couple things, and then you sort of are known. In fact, Rage 2. I talk about, beating the single player first before you explore Rage 2, because then it feels like you've done something and everything else makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of that's replaced here. But again, with Judgment, dude, I just like the story more. I do. Like, I like the solid, more laid back, or more down-to-earth story. I don't think other people may agree. I know a lot of people really like Judgment, but for me, it's just... It was much grittier, and it was like serial killers and murderers and trying to figure out who does what, going to the prison and talking to them on the phone and being like, well, you said you were doing this, but and you're trying to figure out who's telling the truth. I loved that. I played 22 hours the first day I got it. Yeah, 20. Yeah, no, the first day I got it, played 19, slept for 6, and then played, because it was Sinking City, I played 23, and then played like 13 the next day, just sitting there doing like random shit. It was just really engaging, much more engaging than the Yakuza games, which I like them a lot, but this one just grabbed me.
Nice. Yeah, I personally just been playing DMC5.
Good game too.
Very good game. I was surprised. I haven't unlocked Dante yet, but I'm on chapter 10.
Oh, so you're not even
Like
halfway through then.
Yeah, I think that is the halfway point. I remember seeing like 20 I almost said trophies, 20 missions.
Dante, how many people do you have playable?
2.
Oh, okay. Sorry, reverse then. So you unlock what's his name first?
You unlock Nero, then V.
Yeah, Skinny Danzig. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I fucking love V. I think he is the coolest
He's my favorite
shit
one
ever.
Yep.
Not only that, but I thought it was so awesome in a game that's very known for getting up and shooting your gun and using your sword that he's like a puppet master.
Yep.
Absolute stroke of brilliance. Like some people were, when I was streaming it, were like, yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of the play style. I think it's kind of weird. I'm like, I love it for that very reason. It feels very awkward at first, but once you get the hang of it and you start, because it has a pacing to it, a little more methodical approach compared to Nero, or I'm assuming Dante, where it's very in your face and action oriented. Mixing in air dodges with Nero and like dodging at the same time. Holy shit, man!
Yeah,
like,
the bird cracked me up. His partner.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Yeah, he's so sarcastic, such a dick, and that character's really cool looking too. I actually liked him way better than the other.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I was sold on his aesthetic right away. He's just walking around reading poems, and he's got tattoos. He's very edgy. His battle lines, like, yeah, it's right up my alley. I was like, yeah, this guy is instantly my favorite. Really, really cool, and he carries the narrative. I feel he's like, I know like Devil May Cry is not known for its story, but my interest is not in like what's happening with Dante and Nero. I'm like, well, what's he gone through? What's his investment here? I think he's the best character in that game so far.
Also, the hottest shopkeeper in humanity. What in the dude? Even like,
yeah, I think it's funny how geeky she is.
But dude, come on, she's typical geek. What's the term? Fantasy. Like, I mean, come the fuck on. Like the first time she shows up, even my wife was like, "What the fuck?" I was all, I know, man. Like that shit's ridiculous. Like it was insane. But I think their look in the cutscenes and stuff is really good. The only thing I didn't like, I told you, was I don't like that I know where every battle's going to happen. There's not a single time that you don't know a blood wall's going to come down. Like you go to a junction and you're like, fight's happening.
Yeah, I feel like I was very surprised. I thought the game was going to be very open. I was surprised how linear it was, in a pleasant way, because I am one of the few, from what I've seen online, that likes Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry. I loved its, and mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I played DMC 1 and I dabbled a little bit in 3. So take my opinion as you will, but I love the mixture of like having, I think it was the angelic chain that pulls them towards you, or I think it's you pull yourself to them, and then the hell chain which pulls them to you. And to see that level of linearity and design being carried over into DMC 5, it just felt right. I think, it's something we always talk about. There are certain games that should be open world or try open world and making it fit, but Devil May Cry wasn't one of them. So I'm happy where they expanded was in the terms of playable characters, combos. Yeah. I've heard New Game Plus is great, which I have yet to get to, obviously. I was very happy to see that type of stuff being their focus. Secret areas, if you call it, you press L1, you call in that giant thing as V, like you can break down a wall and you can get little collectibles, and there's branching paths on the levels. I'm happy that's where they put their resources. That was my favorite shit.
Also, I don't know why I liked it so much, but I just like watching the other character in the split stories, in the split chapters where you can start choosing who you play. You can see your other character fighting in the level. Like you'll look down and see Nero, and you're just like, that's sort of cool.
I have yet to do that yet. I only had one point where we met. And we fought like a horde of enemies together, and they like turned up this fucking amazing music. It was wild.
Good battle music.
Yeah.
What did you think about the returning? Because I'm not a huge fan of this part of the game. Returning to that boss guy. I don't even remember his fucking name.
I actually was on the headset with my friends, and I was like, I don't like this, because I hate when games start off with the final boss. Like, it's clear as day. Like, he might evolve into something different, but I hate when games start with the final boss. I like a mystery or a little bit of like a carrot dangling, like, oh, is something going to change here? But then revisiting him once more in the middle of the game, and presumably the next time we come to him is at the end. I feel like it was almost padding in a way.
Yeah.
Because they're like trying to just like keep you revisiting to keep the game going, because ultimately it's like, what, a 6-8 hour game? Like, it's not. I might be shortening it a bit, but from what I've gathered, based off the time I've put in, I'm halfway through. And some missions are just a single fight, and then it's over. Very fun. Easily going to replay it, given its length and also my interest in it. One of my favorites of the year so far. Really, really enjoying it. When I'm away, it's. I always tell people this on the podcast. When I'm away from it, I want to go and play it. I think of it.
Yeah.
So that's when you got a good game. And, like, I'll have that rush when I finally sit down with the controller in my hands and know, like, all right, I'm going to play DMC5. So, really good game. But let's talk about Sinking City, because I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I had yet to let you get into that. So, that's the other bigger game you reviewed. We had a bit of a discussion before on a couple episodes ago, and you mentioned some mechanics. I remember being really interested, but as time went on, I sort of expected this to land in the average to good range for most folks. And so, sadly, this is the one I didn't have a chance to check out your review for. So where do you stand on Sinking City?
Yeah, it's definitely waiting. It's weird because it feels like Vampire. Like, there's no denying,
Really?
even a couple locations, it evokes. You're just like, okay, it's definitely going for Vampire.
In a good way, or is it like I've been here before?
No, in a good way.
Okay.
Like the story mission stuff and the characters are fucking awesome. Awesome. Some of them, and the shit that's going on beneath the surface in that game, class issues with the different like sort of monsters, I guess you call them, for Cthulhu in that game.
Yeah, like I saw apes in some gameplay or
Yeah,
something like
dude,
that. Ape humans. I don't know.
It's so cool because they all have something to do with H.P. Lovecraft's like short stories, because there was an ape, Dunwich Horror, I think, had Ape Man. I can't remember. But it's so cool because he's all highfalutin, all British, and he's like, we have pure blood. And your character's looking at him going, no, you definitely don't. And it's cool because you can say that. You can be like, what's with your face, dude? And you can hit that button. The only problem is you don't say it like you expect. It reminds me like of L.A. Noire, where you'd be all innocent. You press the button, but what your character said was like, that's not really what I meant. That actually happens here a couple times. But basically what it is there's a cataclysmic flood in a city. It's a city that so you've been having these weird nightmares, and you go to a psychiatrist who tells you that it might be connected to this illness in the city. You go to the city, it's had a huge flood, so it's flooded like the lower class areas, which is why you're on a boat in those areas. Okay. And atmospherically, dude, it's awesome. It also shows that unlike We Happy Few, you can do procedurally generated locations without looking like a boredom fucking simulator. Like, We Happy Few was like, hey, go forward, go right. Like,
it's funny because We Happy Few's world design almost is the pinnacle of what Joy actually was. Like, this initial rush, and then you just come straight down. Like, it really kind of creepy when you think about it.
Yeah, so the city is the most cluttered city like you'll probably ever see in a game. There's shit everywhere. There's like, in the swamped areas, there's like barnacles up the side. There's like an orca in the ground, and there's a giant shark bite through it. There's shit eating it.
So like this is procedural generated.
But so the city is, which is what they'll be given in a month when anybody can create their own city and make their own missions. The city is, and then what they did was they created a city they were happy with, and then went in and touched it up by hand, which is what We Happy Few basically does. It's like, here's a city, then we touch it up by hand.
But
and
I have sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. I'm just trying to get so I understand this right. So, world is procedurally generated, story and characters preset.
Yep.
Almost.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then the big hook to this game is you don't. So most games you say, I want to go to a mission area and a waypoint pops up. This game does not do that, and it's brilliant. It basically requires you to look at the map and identify like crossroads. So you'll read a thing, and some lady will be like, I was walking down Buford Street towards 5th and Harrison when I heard a ghost, or I saw what looked like a ghost in the street. So you'll then open up your map, have to find it in the district, and then you put a waypoint. But the cool thing about a human waypoint versus a computer waypoint is it won't be perfect. So you then go to that cross street and you're sort of like looking around, going, all right, which building might be the right one? Then you find what you think is the right one. You do your quest in it. What's cool about it is I can remember, even after fucking over 20 hours playing that first time sitting down, I can still remember the very first building I ever investigated because I had to do it. There was no waypoint to it. So my brain got that burned in, and it was like, and every time I'd pass by this building, Matty, I'd be like, haha, I remember when I killed that dude in there. And that happens with every place. And by the time you're done, you've got all these waypoints, tons of missions, and you've done them. You've actually identified where they are in the game world. And what you're doing is it's mostly investigation, a lot of stuff with sanity. Combat, not very good. Combat
I was really caught off guard when I saw guns.
Rough. Yeah, it's really rough. It's unfortunate. Sanity system is amazing. It's got one of the scariest sanity systems I've ever seen. It makes Call of Cthulhu look like the crap it really is. But basically, you'll be fighting, let's say, creatures, and if your sanity gets too low, they do this thing where they take an MPEG, like a video of a transparent monster leaping towards you, and it looks like a vision. So you'll be like in this dark room, there's all this sound going on, and suddenly you see like this creature, it skirts off, that's real, but then your brain starts to freak out, and so you'll see a creature leap out at you, but it's like just slightly transparent, and so you're all, what the fuck, and then you go, oh no, that's not real, that's like this character seeing this vision. And it gets so bad that like sometimes he'll be wobbling, he'll like pull his gun out, put it to his head, and cock the trigger, and you're like, dude, is he gonna commit suicide? Like, what's happening? Wow. You can get rid of sanity issues by taking a chemical, but the cool thing is hard, medium, and easy will adjust how you get back your sanity. So you can make it super hard, or you can make it very easy to get back your sanity.
What happens if it like maxes out? Is it just like...
If it maxes out, you go insane, you basically go unconscious, and then you're shipped back to the insane asylum. And then you have a whole story around that, too. So you even have to find your stuff. You have to talk to a guy. He's like, oh, somebody brought you in. And then that sort of opens up its own little baby adventure as well.
Wow.
So, but it's so cool. The problem is it's got the worst fucking random NPC city generator I've ever seen in years. It's everything you never want to see. They bump into shit. They get caught. They walk to dead-end alleys. I filmed, some of my film is at the end of the game where like 12 people in a row in an 8-minute section all piss on the same trash can. Because they all, obviously, they're being triggered by the same... And, of course, I had to capture that. I put it in my video. But, like, the guy's just pissing all over the trash can. He walks away. The next guy goes. You can see his AI go and then go pee on... You can see it trigger.
Like a doll almost.
Yeah, and what sucks is, Matty, is when you first get into this game, it's gorgeous. Just for a second. You have some bad animations for sure. Some janky stuff, but the special effects are very high. So it's like low budget in some places, very high in others. And you see all this and you're like, whoa, this is cool. And then after... This is why I always say you really want to play a game for a while. Because I had people going like, oh, I love it. I'm 2 hours in. And then right away at 4 hours, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I sort of see and that's exactly what happened. 3 hours in, 4 hours in, the Cthulhu mythos, I love it. I love the NPCs, the fucking talking back and forth. Voices are pretty good, aside from the main character, he's a little wonky. And then it just starts cloying on you. And it's mostly the NPC system. It's mostly the world. They tried to add atmosphere, but they added too much. In fact, it's almost like you and I doing a procedurally generated area and leaving the shit. And they should have gone in and somebody should have said, do we need a flipped over car in the middle of the road right here? Does this make sense? And they didn't. And so sometimes you'll walk by and there'll be like a car, a boat, a fucking 55-gallon drum with bums around it. And that looks cool at first. But at the 33rd time, and when you're 20 hours in, you're like, please, God, just clean up the streets a little bit. Would somebody go and pick up some shit?
It's almost like their playtesting went for a couple of hours versus the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's good, dude. I mean, it's really enjoyable. I gave it a wait for a sale when I think a lot of people might have rated it lower, because it's only at 65 to 70 on Meta. It's not very high. So is Call of Cthulhu. But I would say if you can play it and ignore that weird shit, dude, the mission system, the lack of waypoints, as long as you pick the right difficulty, because I think on the easiest difficulty they will show up in some place. It is fucking awesome.
So it's kind of like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you have the investigative mode and then okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
And when you read those things, dude, it's so cool, because like as the game goes on, suddenly you won't just get one hint, you'll need 3. So you'll get one street, and then you're on that street, then you'll find something, you'll get the other street, and you have to start looking in your hints and go. And dude, there's main missions where you don't know where to go. Like you'll be all, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing wrong? And then you go, oh, I can go to the city council and look up. You take your hints, you go to the council, the library, police department, a couple other places, and you can go to the back and use their like research. And it'll be like, you have to look at your hints and line up your research and then do a search to find the answer you're looking for. So you're like going through the library looking for people who checked out the Necronomicon, which is like an ancient book in the H.P. Lovecraft mythos. Okay. And you'll figure it out and you'll be like, oh, it's Arthur blah, blah, blah. And you're like, but where is he? In the city? I have no clue. And then you have to go to the city council area and look him up and find him and find his house and where he is and then go there.
Gotcha.
It's very cool. It's very cool. And there is a lot of change. You can certainly have a different playthrough. If you choose to do some things and I choose to do other things, you will definitely have a different ending. There are multiple endings.
Nice. So, always like to hear that. All right. With definitely all enjoyable. That said, it's time for probably the longest section of our show this week. So we have about 3 weeks, I'd say, of patron questions stacked up. So it's time we give them their due and get into it. So, here we go. Pop it open the Discord. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to flick a buck, you can be a part of the show too. All it costs you is $1 a month. You join the Patreon, you join our Discord, and you can be a part of our fun little community here. Okay. We're going to start all the way back on June 10th. Robin asks, are prices for collector's editions starting to get out of control? Which I believe is in response to the Final Fantasy VII, which is $330. Without tax. Accounted for yet. For the audio listeners, Karak is maniacally staring at the floor in
I just can't believe that price. I thought they were going to say the Necronomicon edition of Sinking City because that was $79, and I thought that was high.
I see. It goes back and forth because like Persona Q2 was a DS game, and then they had like a collector's edition that came with a bunch of fun little shit, and it was only $20 more. I'll admit though, look, I've committed my collector's edition sins. I bought the Final Fantasy 15 one. Rest in peace. I was really excited for that game, and I spent like $300 on it, which really hurt. Yeah, really hurt. Because now I'm not huge about the game. I love Noctis, so I got his like cool little figure, yeah, and he just chills next to all my other shit. But in answer to your question, Robin, I would agree that sometimes it gets pretty out of hand because what happens is we're seeing now collector's editions just being sold without the game. I think the fun is celebrating the game alongside stuff of the universe being brought to life. That's why they call it a collector's edition. People want to collect the cool stuff for the franchise they care about, and part of that should be the game, not buy the game and get the collector shit separately.
That's a loot box, Matty.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a loot box.
Yeah.
And that's just bullshit.
Yeah. Let's see here. Kopi
I should have said that stuff is poopy. I don't want to get us demonetized.
Dude, we dropped an F-bomb within like the first 2 minutes. We're fine.
Probably me. Well, I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
Kopi Did we get the last one demonetized? Oh, no.
No, last one was good.
Okay, sorry, I want to interrupt you more. Okay, continue.
No, you're good. Kopi has asked me, Karak, feel free to answer. Kopi, we can't ostracize people on this show.
Yeah!
What are you doing, man? What are your thoughts on the new Animal Crossing title? I recall you saying the games never really interested you, but this one seemed to be more survival-based, which I'd assume would grab your interest a little bit. So, when it comes to Animal Crossing, I don't know. First of all, the voices fucking annoy me. I don't know how any human can tolerate that noise that Tom Nook makes. That holy shit! It's something from fucking hell. It is absolutely satanic. I can't believe that people
did that or whatever.
Yeah,
that ukulele or whatever.
Yeah,
that game did it.
I would rather just be a silent text box. Just it's a DS game. Let me read it. And when I saw them breaking it back in the new one, I was like, no, I'm not interested. I don't know. I feel like the game's up my alley in the terms of, you guys know I like my almost Sims experiences, building something from the ground up, or Civilization. But something about Animal Crossing when I played New Leaf, I think it was called on the 3DS, it just didn't get its hooks in me. And I think I just need a fresh start. I'm open-minded to the one on the Switch. Also because my girlfriend will not stop telling me I have to play it. She's obsessed with Animal Crossing, so I'm playing it whether I like it or not, because I've certainly forced her to play games that I know she wouldn't have otherwise tried. So, I must still give it a shot. But I will say that the game does not appeal to me I don't know if it's aesthetically. I feel like we also know pretty much nothing about this game, so there's nothing to be interested about. And I also have been saying this a lot lately, that the game comes out next March. There's so much shit between now and then I care about. I'll wait till the beginning of 2020 to start giving a shit about Animal Crossing personally. Do you care about Animal Crossing, by the way?
I would, but I don't know anything about this one. As in, I would check it out or something like that. But yeah, okay. I don't know anything about this one, so that's a good question for you.
Bearded Panda says, with Pro ZD confirmed for the voice of Flack in Borderlands 3, what franchise and character type would y'all like to do a voice actor for? Wow. I'd like to be in a Persona game, like one of your side characters. I don't want to be the MC, but I'd like to be, because I don't think I have like this epic voice. But if I could be like your nerdy best friend or something like that, one of the major companions that you can do social links with, I'd be about that. That's where I'd love this to do.
Any game?
Any game.
I don't know. I loved Trevor in GTA 5. Like the fucking, just the nasty, like, I don't know why. I wouldn't want to change myself and try to be like all, pip pip, gentlemen. So probably some redneck horrible person in the woods somewhere. I don't really have any idea. I don't really even want to do that. Do you? I know you had tried to do. Didn't you sample some voice act, or wasn't there like an open call for voice acting a long time ago when you and I first met?
I definitely want to expand my career to voice acting for sure. That's like something I've officially decided to do. I need to take voice classes, of course. I think I have a trained voice, but not in the terms of like altering it for a role. But yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do. And what you're referring to is Oddworld Soulstorm, which looks awesome, by the way. So, long story short, folks, in like 2016, they messaged me and said, like, hey, you want to roll in the game? You could be a Mudok. And I was like, fuck yeah, bro. Like, I grew up on Oddworld. Like, this is, like, Oddworld Munch's Odyssey is one of my favorite games of all time, right next to Stranger's Wrath. Like, amazing games. I'm a little more biased when it comes to Munches, but Stranger's Wrath people would enjoy. So I was like, absolutely. And I still, 3 years later, have yet to be contacted for lines. And I signed a contract and everything, so... We'll see.
Weird. Okay.
We'll see. Do you think that Pokemon Sword and Shield should be delayed? The game looks pretty rough, and it won't let you use every Pokemon from every game like previous titles. I don't think that, in this Kopi who asked this, I don't think that it needs to be delayed, personally, because... there's already so many Pokemon, but I think there was going to be like some exceptions made at some point with this game where you have so many Pokemon and people want like open world spaces, but they also want to maintain the previous DNA, and they have to add like a new gimmick like they're doing with Dynamax. I just feel like there's so many demands from every point where the developers are eventually just going to shut the blinds and go, all right, what are we doing? Who are we keeping? Yeah. And for me personally, like, I love Pokemon. Grew up on it, so... I understand the love for the older ones, and as new generations open up, we fell in love with different ones, but I just don't expect I personally don't expect Game Freak to provide all of them in one title. I don't. I personally cannot. Do you think the game needs a delay? I thought it looked sharp. I was excited when I saw the gameplay.
Yeah, it looks fine for me.
Yeah.
I'll check it out when it comes out.
Randomosity asks, do you think hardly anyone showed actual gameplay at E3 because all those games are running on the next generation of consoles and they can't show that yet?
On what game?
They just said, do you think anyone... Like, we got a lot of CGI trailers. Like, for example, Elden Ring. And he's saying, do you think that we didn't see actual gameplay for titles like that because all the games are running on next-gen consoles and they can't show that yet? And I think so. That may be somewhat true because... some games may actually end up looking better than what's being shown now, and some games may end up looking worse than what we could see now, because they're so far from their final vision. So I'd say it's a little bit of a yes and no from my perspective.
I'm sure there was probably at least one, but I mean, when you look at PCs, they're not generational at all. So if you can show it on PC, you'd show it on PC and just say fuck it. But I think also that we're seeing a lot of developers starting to get worried about showing something and not appeasing, gamers who don't know how development works, because you do downgrade during development, and you can upgrade them. So I would say, yeah, sure. I'm sure probably one or two of them were, but also, dude, people just keep forgetting that AMD has to decide what they're making before Microsoft and Sony can even decide what they're putting in their consoles, and they just recently did that. So that means Microsoft and Sony then just recently spec'd out their hardware. So if people are talking about next-gen systems right now, they probably need to understand in no way, shape, or form is it a next-gen system. It's a development system, which is a PC running an emulator. So really, if you're seeing anything, it's a PC, just for right now, like on those new ones.
Adam, former guest on the H.A.M Radio Podcast just 2 weeks ago, actually chimed in with a question of his own. Were you at all impressed with the Scarlet talk, or do you think that it was all just tech and press jargon? One thing I found quite interesting was, this is where I need to shape up on my tech talk a little bit, so Karak is going to naturally, be my dad here and help me out through my sentence. They said they were using some type of RAM as processing power, or something like that. Something that, sounded... When I heard it, I was like, that's different. I forgot what it was. They were doing something with the RAM, or a visual, or to power visuals, or to power the processing. I apologize.
It's an AP. Yeah, no, it's an AP. It's an APU, which is graphics and a CPU put together. But they did say GDDR6, which is the newer RAM. And then they're using an SSD for the processor. But they didn't really.
That
say
might
much.
have been it.
Yeah,
that might have been it. That sounds right.
Yeah,
that might have been it.
There's. It's literally a normal. I mean, it's just a console discussion.
Yeah, the way I look at it as someone, clearly, as I just displayed, if anyone couldn't tell, I'm not super fluent in tech. So for me, what sells me is the eye test. The stuff that, I have a trained eye in knowing when a game has a lot of money spent versus when the tech is just fucking amazing, right? And I'd say Karak obviously is in that same boat. But when I hear the tech and press stuff, I just kind of sit there and go, okay. I just let it glance. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what the fuck they're all saying. I have a PC, I know decent specs. I can talk a little bit about that, but it doesn't go much beyond that. So when they were talking about the system being a monster, I also got to sit here and acknowledge this is a company trying to hype people up for a product. So them just talking into a camera and doing a slow panning thing on the text Xbox Scarlet, that doesn't excite me. I want to see a game running on that thing. That's what I care about. I don't. That's what I'm.
I mean, they're just Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. They all do this. It's like, here's some stuff, and if you're a tech head like I am, you like looking at it, but it really doesn't mean anything because you can still have good tech and then have one shitty thing about it. In fact, we've seen multiple consoles that have amazing stuff with. Look at the PS3, cell processor, all this crazy shit, and then it turns around and has absolute shit for memory for the video card. So it's it wasn't marketing speak. It was well, I mean, or it's all marketing speak, I guess is what you could say.
Let's see here. Holzer19 asks, with the constant barrage of battle royales lately, is there any theme, setting, fighting style, etc. that would make you genuinely excited for one? Karak, I have an answer right off the top of my head that I have been speculating about for a long, long time.
Go for it.
76 actually touched on it a little bit, believe it or not. I want a MOBA-styled BR. So you start off at level 1, you gradually get through the match, and you level up. As you level up, based off the class you've selected, you get different powers or abilities or perks, whatever you want to call it, and that's where 76 touched on it, because they have perks that you preset based off your character from survival/adventure mode, and I really like that. But what I want to see is, like I said, MOBA style. So once you start off at level 1, you start progressing, you get XP for mining, you get XP for shooting and killing, so it kind of rewards a more aggressive, active team, and as you get those levels, you get those abilities, and you play a role, whether you're a healer or you're playing as a slayer. And so, for example, the healer, can't win the game by themselves, so they have to play their role adequately, because if they just ditch their team and don't try to play in a manner that gets them the most XP, once it comes to the end game, yeah, you may be alive in level 20, but you're a healer, right? So, like, I think that would be a really good route for BR, and I would be shocked if no one's concepting it right now, but that's what would get me genuinely excited. I mean, 76 was a good, like, shot in the arm sort of excitement. Right. But, yeah, like, for me, that would truly get me head over heels for a BR title. But nowadays, like, the way BR is done, it's very surprise factor because of Apex Legends. Even if that game is falling off currently, it still made boatloads of cash. It still made them way more than they ever expected. And so companies see that and go, how can we get that same wow factor and steal people away with our BR mode? And so I feel that demands so much development, my idea, that maybe BR may be on the way out by the time something like that is actually created.
I think BR will be taken over by smaller companies. So you're going to see like your 10, 15 person group trying alternate things. I can say one idea I want and one idea I know for sure is being made, and I'm not going to say which is which. I would love a Battletech style one. Giant robots, very slow, more strategic, huge amounts of firepower. Mm-hmm. I've always liked Battletech. I'm just a big fan of, like, big robots. So I would love to do a BR where it's like 50 robots all smashing the shit out of each other. I think that'd be awesome. Or an underwater one. There's a game called Aquanox.
Maneater BR.
Well, Maneater. There's a game called Aquanox, which is an entire underwater shooter where you're in an underwater, like, super fast one-man sub, and it's all, you upgrade your guns, and it's a very old game, very classic. And then Aquanox 2 came out. There's Aquanox 3 as well. There perhaps is a BR game that's not made by the same company that is going to be underwater. But I heard some pretty cool stuff about, like, imagine going underwater, you're playing a BR, you have your 3D combat now, because imagine that 3D combat where, like, you're circling each other in subs, so you don't need to fly. Different water currents, different salinity to water, so you might have water that's really brackish, where maybe you couldn't use your radar, couldn't see through it as easy. So there'll be some cool stuff. I think Aquaman, actually, this is going to sound really weird, but I think that the underwater scenes in Aquaman, I at least know 3 developers who, the moment they saw the underwater scenes in Aquaman, started getting ideas for games.
Wow.
Yeah, the city, because, dude, if you've seen it now, right?
Yeah, great movie.
Aquaman. Yeah, that scene when, like, they go in and you got the neon coral and all that shit. There were multiple developers I saw in one of the developer discords going like, dude, what if? And then it just sort of blew up from there, which we haven't seen really. If you think about it, we really haven't seen a lot of underwater stuff in a while. I would like to see some people do some crazy shit with the environment, less so the people. Like BR is about, it's in Fallout, it's people. Apex is people, you know what I mean? But, like, change the environment up. That might be interesting to me. Space, there's a BR space game actually right now on Steam. I think there are 40 total.
Interesting.
20 or deathmatch 40 total.
So there's room to grow there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Blade98 asks, is game developers using Hollywood actors a cool/helpful addition to the industry, or is it just a gimmick that they should stop? I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but there are times where I always reference the Call of Duty campaigns because I think they're the best examples where they clearly bring in a large current actor to generate hype or sales, like just so that you can go, yo, Kevin Spacey's in the latest Call of Duty campaign. Right. Like, what? He's the villain? What? Or not him, but Kit Harington, I think, was the villain. But, they have those where I kind of see through it and I go, I don't really care. Or something like Cyberpunk, which is, I think, what sparked this question, where we see Keanu Reeves hit the stage and you find out he's a major character. And this is well after the game's reveal, where all the hype's been generated just around the game itself, like its role-playing mechanics, its dialogue, its shooting, its progression, its attention to detail, where seeing a Hollywood actor join that fight is, I'd say, absolutely more interesting and doesn't feel as gimmicky or as like, oh, they're just trying to pull as many sales as possible. It feels like there's more to that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, people probably have to remember that, like, what is it? The Star Commander 1 or Star Wing 1 or whatever it was with Mark Hamill. I mean, people have been doing major, Command and Conquer, Michael Ironside. There's been actors in movies for over 20 years, or in games for over 20 years. So I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. I think, like you said, it depends on what it's bringing to the table. Cameron, I think, brings a ton to the table for Star Wars. I'm really excited to see him. Really excited to see Keanu, because they both like that stuff too. I'm excited when somebody likes something. I know
that's the thing.
Their
is passions,
that they
like it.
Yeah, if they're a fucking gamer and they're all, dude, I love games. To me, there's almost a weird fan thing where it's like, oh, do you? Do you like games as much as me? And you're all.
Well, there's like times where
seriously,
like, fuck. I get what you're saying, and I'm not like this elitist fan. I fucking can't stand that shit. But there are times where you can tell, like, the PR script says, like, mention you're a big gamer. Because I remember when Cameron got introduced, he's like, I've been a hardcore gamer all my life. I'm just like, bro, no. Like,
he has.
Like, is he really?
Absolutely. Cameron, dude, he talks about it on Shameless in the first year, and that was like 9 years ago.
That's fucking insane to me, because, like, it just,
But ignore him for a second. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
you're absolutely, it
just sounded very scripted, and I think if companies just say, hey, if you want to talk about games and it fits, do it, that works a lot better.
Yeah.
Because even I would sit there and go, like I just said there, like, I don't buy that. I don't believe you, kind of thing. Where, crazy shit, though. Black Dow. What are your thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Remake being 2 discs just for Midgar and the fact that the entire remake could span console generations? It's a joke. As excited as I am, it's a joke. I am not a huge fan of that
you reading him now, or are you saying out loud? Sorry. You're saying.
I am saying it is a joke.
I thought you were Black Dog going, why is he asking if he's going to say it's a joke right away?
No. I was like scrolling through because I'm happy as fuck. We have a ton of questions.
I agree with you completely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but no one is listening, and I need people to understand that I love what I'm seeing with this game, but everyone needs to accept something's getting left behind here. Yep. They cannot recreate a game like Final Fantasy VII and compact, even if it's through multiple generations. They cannot. It's not going to happen. Except if you're excited, just accept that like one of your favorite parts is probably going to get kicked out or changed.
Or it'll just feel different thematically if it's split that long.
It could be better, but I just think there's a reason why 7's a little more. I would have loved if 7 got the buff we're seeing with Final Fantasy 8.
I knew what you were going to say. Yeah.
I would have much rather that. Keep the whole fucking game, polish it up a little bit, add like the new models.
I want to experience it all in one. Dude, I don't want to have to remember what the fuck I did 2 years from now in a game that's thematically supposed to be the next day. Yeah, it's going to be really weird.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. The part of the strength of that game is like
focused narrative.
Yeah, I don't know how else to say it. Like the story's there. I don't even know in Midgar what point you can end the fucking game.
Are you going to stop? Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be, and that'll be different all by itself.
Yeah, they're going to add new parts. They have to. Because nothing in that game stopped you from saying that you can't leave Midgard.
I think that's okay, but you treat it like an OST remix off of remix.com. Like it's a remix. It's going to have some added shit, but it may not be what you thematically exactly remember.
Like it just feels like the wrong game to change stuff for. If they were going to change anything in the Final Fantasy VII line, like do something different with Crisis Core. That was a great game, but if you could open that one up a little bit more.
What was Crisis Core on?
That was on the PSP.
Oh,
but they took Type 0 HD from the, or not HD, but just Type 0 from the PSP and ported it to the PS4. So I think it's possible. And that game is great. I love Type 0
That's
HD.
why I was asking, because I didn't have a PSP, and I was trying to remember why I hadn't at least looked at it.
Yeah, really good game. All right, so we move on to, that was 2 different weeks worth of questions, and now thank you to everyone who had submitted them. We move on to this week's bulk of questions. Bearded Panda says, fill in the blank. We don't call them microtransactions, loot boxes, DLC, or surprise mechanics. We call them blank.
Tiny purchases. That's really what they are. I don't have any witty. There's tiny purchases.
I'm trying to think of something funny. Something to get a rise out of our listeners. That's usually your job. Because my humor is so fucking straight and dry that it just...
People take it seriously and then
sarcastic.
Post in your comments.
Yeah, absolutely sarcastic. That like I just feel like I avoid humor on my channel at all costs. Like it never has helped me out. So I'm just gonna say we call them gyps. Hilarious.
There you go.
All right.
People still believe you. You'll get a tweet about it.
I know, right?
Can't believe it.
Acid Buffet. I've recently been expanding my retro game collection. Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, A Link to the Past, just to name a few. What older games do you guys feel are must-plays? Oh, man. So it seems like you're digging A Link to the Past was on the Game Boy Color, but it seems like you're mentioning a lot of 64 games. Oh, man.
I can tell you one that's
I got
prior.
one.
Phantasy Star #1, the original on the Master System. It's phenomenal.
Isn't that on... Is that on Sega Genesis?
Yeah, 2, 3, and 4 are.
Okay.
And whatever other ones.
my-
And there might be a remake.
Card shop I go to sells retro games, and I remember seeing Sega and then, like, Phantasy Star,
Yeah.
but I think it was 2, now that you
And
mention it.
4 was redonkulous because you have 4 generations through the entire game. So you have your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and then the last gen. So you have in the entire game. It was one of you said a sequel. Dishonored was like 1 character, then 2 is like 2 characters. Phantasy Star 4 was like, fuck you, man. We'll show you. We're gonna do 4 generations of characters. You're just like, damn.
Here's a whole goddamn family.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I would say must play is Turtles in Time. That you can get on the SNES. Very short beat 'em up, but one of my favorites of all time.
Legend
I
of
love going
Cage
to
was
it.
back then.
Ooh.
Oh, Legend of Cage was NES. So we're looking at Ghouls and Ghosts without
They're just
a
saying.
doubt.
They're just saying what older games do you guys feel are must plays?
Ghouls and Ghosts without a fucking shadow of a doubt. Ghouls and
Nice.
Ghosts is amazing. What else?
Pokemon
16.
Stadium. I love that one. I think it's aged well. I've played it in recent, like I think within the last year. It's still fun. It's standard Pokemon battles, but you have an announcer that kind of like screams over the entire battle, and the Pokemon are like 3D models, like you see actually nowadays. So it was really cool to see that on the N64. And since you mentioned A Link to the Past, you clearly have a Game Boy Color, and if you have the link that you can use between your Game Boy Color and your N64, you can actually play Pokemon Yellow, I believe it is, by linking your Game Boy to your 64 and opening up something in Pokemon Stadium 1. So you can play on your Game Boy Color on the big screen. Really cool mechanic that was included in that game, and I thought it was fucking awesome. Oh, man. God, the 64 was my shit. I actually never really owned a PlayStation 1, but I will say that Final Fantasy VII is naturally a older must-play.
Dragon Force on the Sega Saturn was one of the best games. Ridiculously.
There is a
You know how I
spiritual
first-
successor coming out that you and I were just talking about, but ActRaiser is one that's like a
Yeah.
side scroller where you go through and clear areas out, and you go through this map, and then this map becomes like towns that you can build, and you can like collect resources and manage civilization, but it's still like that cool side scroller. So it has like a sense of openness that other old games never had. And like I said, Sega just announced, and it's coming out in like 10 days, like a spiritual successor identical to that. So maybe hold off.
Oh, that
on
was the one
ActRaiser.
you linked me.
Yeah, and I said like, dude, this
Yeah.
looks awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put in a
definitely
review
did.
request for that for sure.
Do you know how
'cause
I
it looks
first had
great.
an N64, dude? It wasn't an N64. It was a Chinese ripoff that
Oh,
was
no.
the N64 controller with a slot at the top to put the cartridge. Did you even know those existed?
No.
Yeah, they got all the hardware into a single N64 controller. So it was your N64
Oh, so it was
controller
like a
with the
handheld.
N64 in it, and all it had was 4 wires to connect to your TV. And you would just hold it, and your console was in your controller. So you just plug the cartridge on top. Is that not
Wow.
crazy? That's how fast technology is advanced. That when
Wow.
I played it, I didn't even have the console. I had a controller, which was the console.
Wow. That is fucking.
Yeah,
So-
it,
I remember seeing when I was a kid, someone got like one of those. What's the word? Like handmade consoles that took the 64 and put it into like a portable setting
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
could
saw
like
those.
slot the thing in on the top and you'd have a screen that would play it.
Yeah.
Fucking insane.
Isn't that crazy too? That technology you and I bought these boxes that were hot. They weren't even cool. Like
Yeah.
they were as in warm and they're big. And then suddenly somebody figures out a die shrink and you've got it. This fucking look at a Genesis. Mini Genesis is
I
like
know,
you know
right?
all those. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so awesome.
Spider-Man 64 is another favorite of mine. Not a really great game, but just a classic, I feel.
I feel like I'm missing something on the 64. It's not Doom or Quake. There's something I played, and I remember that was what got me.
A lot of people like Quest 64. I haven't played that, but I've heard a lot of people like that game.
Pilot Wings 64, was that good? Was the Pilot Wings that was on 64 good? Because Pilot Wings was hugely popular for SNES. It used Mode 7, which was their fancy scaler and all this crazy shit.
I don't know. I mean...
Oh, Blast Corps. Blast Corps.
Blast Corps.
That's the game.
Oh, yeah, that fucking reminds me.
Demolition game. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that would be something I would... If you have an N64 emulator, however he's playing.
I got the best suggestion of them all. Army Men.
Oh, Army Men was really good.
I fucking love Army Men. Ladies and gentlemen, you literally play as plastic army toys, and like it's a third-person shooter. It is. Yep. I mean, obviously controlling a third-person shooter on N64 controller sucks, but it's so cool for what it is.
And Toy Soldiers 1 and 2 both replace or their spiritual successors. Mm-hmm. They're on PC and console.
Great games.
Yeah, very much so. Army Men's just a blast because you're fucking playing with toys.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So cool. Toy Story. No, Toy Story 3 is 360.
Yeah, Toy Story 2 I think was on the 1 and 2 were on... I don't know about 1. I think
N64.
2 was on N64 for sure. Toy Story 2 is a fantastic game. Wow, good suggestion. 3, that's a good one.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, 3 is the best, one of the best, if not the best movie tie-in game ever.
Dude, seriously, people fucking have no clue how good of a game that is.
Yeah.
Oh,
I recently played it for a stream. Like it was, I think, for a 50 sub goal, and it was just like I was fucking around in the toy box mode. I had trouble focusing on the chat.
Oh, good still. It's ridiculous, man.
Great game. Backwards compatible, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have an Xbox, you can pick it up. But it's not cheap.
Earthworm Jim.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't want to forget it. Continue.
No, I was just saying it's one of those games like we mentioned earlier that didn't... You think it'd be like $5 now, but Toy Story 3 is a gem. $20.
Oh, really?
Yeah, digital, physical, used, eBay, $20.
Oh, yeah, they know the price of that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
They know what it's
They know. Yeah, they know it's good. Adam asks yet again, when do you think we'll see more of Pete Hines on Twitter, interviews, etc.? And in answer to this question, I just feel like he decided enough was enough. Because I remember always he mentioned, whenever people would like give him shit on Twitter, they go, oh man, like, you know, hey, Pete, why are you just not giving us the truth, man? Like, he's like, it's my job to come out here and do what I got to do, but pretty much I don't have to go on Twitter. Like, that's the thing he said. Like, I have to give you guys information on the game. I have to, you know, work with our partners, but going on Twitter and answering your questions individually is not a part of my job requirement. I do it because I want to. And I think after 76, when shit just blew up, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't got to. And he just walked away. He did some interviews, I believe, at E3. I think Todd's really taken the reins for that, which is why you saw a little more exhaustion from him, a little more like nerves from him. It was a lot more pressure on him, I think, internally than most had realized. So I don't know when Pete will come out. I was even surprised to see him open Bethesda's E3 2019 conference.
Oh, were you?
I was pretty surprised, yeah.
Pretty surprised. He's not the only one, like, talking to some, I mean, you and I have talked about it, but some YouTubers. There's a lot of people considering, like, YouTube comments being turned off, turning their Twitter off. Like, there's a lot of people who are all, you know what? It's not, does it gain you fans? It can, for sure. But it can also, if it's destroying you, like the number of people I know who are stepping away, and PR people. In fact, one of the PR people you and I have had on the podcast, when I talked to them a while ago, I hadn't seen them, and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, dude, I can't. No way. He's like, the 10 good people do not equal 150 jackasses who just say you're lying and you're not. And maybe it's going to take you 6 months to prove them wrong. He's like, they won't ever remember. It's not worth it at all, which is really sad. But Pete, you know me, I didn't really know what to think. I'll admit, I did not know what to think of him. You and Lone were the ones who sort of knew how he, remember? Because I had some issues with his sarcasm. Yeah. I was always confused about exactly what he was doing. But never in a million years would I want somebody to have to leave. Like, it's unacceptable. Yeah. And the thing is he did. And I think it's good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks, but I don't think you
Look,
will either.
I'm a believer. The way the internet can be, man, like it can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and
It's ridiculous.
yeah, I just feel like even I don't have issues on the internet, but like I just step away anyway, just because I know it's good to just let my brain detach from that shit, and I don't blame him if it's not my job requirement. Like for me, I always tell people if I didn't do this as a job, I would not be on social media at all. I don't care about social media.
No,
I don't like it. It is
yeah, I
quite
wouldn't
literally
either.
a job requirement just to keep my videos a little more relevant, to engage with people who are awesome, which I'm very fortunate to have a very nice audience where
Yeah.
I don't get those fucking negative interactions that often. But even though they're mostly positive, I still like to breathe and take a step away from them so that they're constantly refreshing and enjoyable, and I can have genuine interactions, not like, oh, another day on Twitter, like, that's the thing. But I always say, man, like, unplugging's so important.
Yeah, and good for him, because, he probably had to sell that to somebody, Matty. I bet you. Imagine if you're that job and you've been doing it, you have to go to your bosses and say, okay, FYI, what I was doing, which you guys may have considered a role, I'm not doing because it's truly not a role. You have to sell that, which is pretty stressful in and of itself.
Absolutely. Ace asks, I have a question. What are your and Karak's opinions? A lot of Bethesda stuff this week. Actually, this is the last one for Bethesda. What are your and Karak's opinion about Bethesda's future and having to learn from their mistakes? Are we going to see some of the same mistake in the next couple of games of theirs? As in, I'm sure he's referring to engines, polish, that type of stuff. What do you think about that?
Do we... I guess I don't want to come off as negative towards anything anybody's done, but I think people are blowing it out of proportion. I commented on your Twitter yesterday, on your video, where I was like, okay, so not Pete, for example, what's his name? Todd, had gone out and said, and he made a joke about 76 in the middle of the E3 conference. Like, yes, we get it. You guys are spirited, blah, blah, blah. Obviously it was like, we know. But then later he explained a story about when they had made some bad games and needed a angel investor. And if people don't know what that means, that's basically someone comes in and saves your company. They needed that to continue after they made some bad games. I don't necessarily believe Fallout 76 is anywhere near as impactful as people think when it comes to like destroying
reputation-wise,
Bethesda.
impactful, monetarily, they're fine.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if they announce Skyrim 2, Matty.
Skyrim 2? What did you just say?
I'm just saying, imagine if they did. People would shit. They'd be all over it.
Oh, you're just serious. You're saying like a Skyrim sequel.
I'm just saying if they said...
Elder Scrolls 6?
Yeah, no. What if they just said Skyrim 2?
Oh, you're back in Skyrim 2. Like Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, I'm just saying if they just announced it, fans would ignore 76, dude. They would. Most would.
Well, that's why you're not going to see anything from BGS till next year.
Yeah, it's not destroying their company. They had actual bad games for many years. Go look at their release schedule. Horrendous games, and they were in trouble. That was an issue. This, I don't think is
when they were publishing games like Rogue Warrior?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Glory
and I don't
days.
want to bring up Glory Days. And look, that's what Todd even said in the interview. He's like, listen, one of the worst events we ever had was that he's been there 20... How long has Todd been there, bro?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. He started as community manager, right? Didn't he?
Man, I don't remember what he started as.
I'm pretty sure he started as... I could be wrong. I thought he started as community manager. But no, I don't think... I think they'll improve, but they'll probably have a bad release in the future, too. Every company does. People seem to forget that it's like, if you release enough games, you're going to...
I guess it was just... This was like cataclysmic. It was just very bad.
Because it was their main title, too.
Yeah, exactly. It was their big fall title. It just... no one expected anything good, but no one expected things that bad. Do
you think it's turned around? The honest truth. Because I honestly believe that there is a weird upswell of like, hey, this community is great, and hey,
that's
VR
true.
is good.
That's not them just saying like a PR statement. The community for 76 is actually fantastic. Like the people who play and like the game are some of the best people you can encounter in online gaming.
I'm asking. Do you think that
VR is great? The future could be very good if they do the Wastelanders expansion right. It's a matter of
Gotcha.
And this is a lot of what ifs. Is the writing
Yeah.
good? Are the characters interesting? Are the choices meaningful? How does it impact the game world? How much does it retain that Fallout spirit? What sacrifices are made? How much is actually there? Or is it just like 2 characters in this gigantic world? How quickly are updates coming out that add more NPCs? Like
One guy on the north side, one guy on the south
that's what
side.
I'm saying. Yeah, like 2 towns full of people.
Yeah.
Is it just encountering raiders? Is that your humans? What are the effects of encountering humans now that you're living in a world that was designed to be sold as? Imagine if every person you encounter in this world was another player, and now there are other people,
Yep.
like actual NPCs. You know, does that corrupt what the game originally was? Which I don't think it will, but I think there's so many what ifs. But condensing it all, looking at it simply. The BR mode's fun. I've seen people who go, I don't like Fallout, I don't like BR, I like this BR. So I think that says something strong about it.
Yeah.
But also, I think if Wastelanders is nailed, which they have to, if they don't nail it, I said that's the final nail in the coffin. Because, you know, I made a video, a news update about this game, and it was the first time I saw people going, I'm actually interested.
Yeah.
Before, like, obviously before the release, people are interested. But that was, like, the first time I saw that shit. So Bethesda has a chance to, you know, win people back and get this right and put the product on the right path. It's a lot of what ifs, though. That's what it all falls down to.
Always. Yeah.
Yep. Jake K1107, recent Twitch sub as well, asks, what are your thoughts on EA's response? Oh, wait, sorry. This was one that we actually covered entirely. Yeah, sorry about that. That's what I get for reading the name and not the question. Grimblade. Just Grimblade. Sorry, he says. Because if you remember, weeks ago, Karak and I had read that this man changed his name like 4 episodes in a row. We're like,
all the time.
yeah, we're like, keep your fucking name the same, bro, or else we'll never know who you are. And so he goes, just Grimblade. Sorry. 2K recently placed unskippable advertisements in NBA 2K19. What are your thoughts on this issue? And then 2, on a similar note, what is a game mechanic you would like to see used during loading screens? I like the idea of doing some inventory management while the game loads. Really good idea.
Fucking A, that's a good idea.
Really good idea. I usually I entertain with like little things
mini
like
games.
Yeah, like Fallout 4 where you can just rotate models. I'm like, yeah, this is...
In VR, you do it with your hands, by the way.
Oh, really?
And you can, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's a brilliant idea. The inventory, shit.
That would be really smart, yeah. That or something that gets you ready for when you load in. But I wonder if that's possible if it's trying to access data to load in an area and has to access data while it's loading you in that brings in every item your character currently owns and then swiftly loading that in once the loading screen finishes. What if you're... I think what they should do is, if they're going to take that mechanic, which I think is a really good idea, so that's why I'm sticking to it, you're managing your inventory in the loading screen, which like you access by clicking the options button or something like that. And while you're managing it, the game loads in, and then you press A to continue once you're done. So it doesn't force you out of the management in the middle of it all. And so once you're ready, I think that would be great. I would love to see some type of game mechanics.
What was his first part?
His first questions were, what are our thoughts on the issue of 2K placing unskippable ads in 2K19? It's fucking stupid.
It's stupid.
That game is shit now.
It's the dumbest I don't even know if anybody would say anything other than that is the dumbest thing
Apparently,
ever.
This has been something ongoing for a while. I'd seen some people respond saying, like, they're just getting caught now.
Oh.
Yeah, like it had popped up in the past or something, and now they're actually getting blasted for it.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Dude, how are there not 8 million fucking videos on unskippable cutscenes or ads in a fucking any game? Even I don't even like them in my mobile. Like, have you ever
gotten to playing? You don't even see that in free-to-play mobile games.
No.
You see like a pop-up like, do you want to visit the store? But like full-on video? What the
It's insane, and it's absolutely ballsy, by the way. So bravo to them for being ballsy as fuck, because that's insane somebody thought that they could get away with it. But I think it's horrible.
It's actually unbelievable, because now you bring up the mobile aspect. Like, I think of all the apps I've ever used, and I want the viewers to think of that too. Think of any free app you've downloaded that in the middle of using it, you'll see an app pop up or an ad pop up, and you'll see like on the top left or top right corner a little
X.
black X that you could just click and continue doing what you're doing. Like, not even that. Like, unskippable advertisements and something you paid $60 for that also has that VC currency bullshit that charges you up the ass for. Give me a fucking break. That's insane.
Different microtransactions for hair and beard too. Remember I was telling you about that for like the NBA game?
God, yeah.
when I wanted to make my beard and my hair the same color, and it was like 80 VC, what do you call them, VC coins or whatever for each, and I'm like,
I think it's virtual
fuck
currency.
are you talking about? Like, what the? It's like one ear needs to be fucking paid for the other ear, and you're just like, jeez, it's horrendous. No, horrible idea.
Arguably, like, the currently worst monetized franchise when you really break it down year in, year out. I feel like between that, absolutely, what you mentioned, and now this example, I think those are awful steps forward, whereas, like, EA's the same loot boxes and Ultimate Team Packs, which are horrible, by the way. But all I'm saying is, like, at least they're maintaining their awful shit practices, and we can work on trying to get those removed or a little more fixed. This is like, God, how far can we go? How can we fuck with people? Or fuck people, really?
It is absolutely ridiculous. Not even an ability to grandfather yourself in or say, I will accept them. Like, what if it said, every time you do, we'll give you 100 VC points or something? But instead, it's just like, now you're watching an unskippable commercial.
Yeah. Unreal. So, that concludes, ladies and gentlemen, all of your patron questions. Thank you all so much for being active week in and week out, even while we took 2 weeks off from the questions. One was the week we were not here. The other was Fighting Cowboy and I, along with Karak, had a very long show, almost 3 hours long, where I made the executive decision that we were just going to cut out the questions. So thank you guys so much for all your submissions. We appreciate you really being a part of the show and thinking of things that we don't consider while we're sitting here recording in our own little bubble here on the internet. Karak, any closing thoughts?
No, now I'm going to leave negative, though, because those fucking
we
need to have something positive. Good job on him with the great, like, that fucking inventory thing needs to be passed on to some devs. We need to talk about something positive, or I'm going to go fucking kick something. I don't even have anything positive. That literally depressed me. The idea of that is, now I'm mad.
Next month is going to be great for Nintendo. We got Fire Emblem and we got Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I can't wait.
And Marvel looked so fucking good, actually. Sorry. Okay, that's positive. Okay,
yeah, man.
Good.
That game looks great. I cannot wait for that one, because, like, everyone's like, Avengers, baby. I'm like, no. Ultimate Alliance 3, man. Shift your focus, please, and thank you.
Yep, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, now that we got our buddy here, Karak, in good shape, a good positive note to end on, we'd like to thank you, the listeners, for sticking to us. Well, yeah, sure, why not? But sticking with us as well for this long. And hopefully we'll have your attention for this long next week. So we'll catch you in episode 209. Peace out.